From poor popcorn girl to millionaire CEO's choice, the shocking twist revealed at 3 a.m. The clock struck 3, and the moon hung like a ghostly eye, peering down on Willow Creek. It was then that the secrets began to unfurl. In the heart of the forgotten town, where dreams once flickered and died like old movie reels, a shocking turn of events was just about to unfold. One girl, once nothing more than the popcorn girl at the local cinema, stood on the edge of destiny. Her name? Lily Hayes. Who could have known that her tired hands would grip the reins of power so tightly it could rattle the soul of the town? But here's the twist: beneath the faded poster of tonight's feature was a secret that would shake the very foundations of Willow Creek. It started with an unusual delivery: a shimmering gold envelope, found wedged beneath the cash register, lit by the eerie flicker of the film projector. The moment Lily ripped it open, she felt a jolt, a surge of electricity, like jumping into icy waters. Inside, she discovered an invitation to the elite Gotham fundraiser, a chance for those lucky enough to be chosen. The catch? Only 3 individuals from the entire state. Curiosity gripped her like a vice. What if she was chosen? What if she wasn't? Each thought squeezed her chest tight. And just as she untangled her thoughts, a soft giggle echoed through the empty cinema. She turned, heart racing. There was no one there. An unsettling chill whispered secrets about the shadows reaching for her, daring her to uncover the hidden truth. The townsfolk muttered among themselves. "It's the curse of the popcorn girl." One exclaimed. "She's flirting with danger," another sneered. Their eyes were glued to her as if she were a burning train rushing toward a cliff. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the night wore on, the shadows deepened, tugging at her resolve. Lily had to find the answer. Who sent the envelope? And why her? The weight of the world pressed down as she shuffled up the aisle, each step echoing like a heartbeat in the dark. Suddenly, a rustling in the projection room made her stop dead in her tracks. Was it just a stray cat? Or something far more sinister? The darkness vibrated with possibilities. Her heart thundered. Would she take the leap into the unknown? Or would she turn back, succumbing to the folklore that surrounded her life? The door creaked behind her, an invitation or perhaps a warning. The mystery stretched out ahead, stretching further than she could imagine. The rustling intensified, a sudden scuffle of feet that shattered the lingering silence. Fear prickled across Lily's skin, and she instantly regretted creeping deeper into the shadows of the cinema. Her breath caught in her throat as she edged closer to the doorway of the projection room, straining to hear the flickering sounds that seemed to dance just beyond her reach. "Hello?" she called, her hands trembling. "Is anyone there?" The dark air held her whispered words like a secret. She waited, heart pounding, for a reply that would never come. Just as she peered into the gloom, a chilling gust of wind swept through the open window, extinguishing the chill of her rising anxiety, albeit briefly. But that momentary relief vanished with the unmistakable sound of a chair creaking, followed by something heavy and tangible moving. Before she could make sense of her racing pulse, she took an involuntary step back, her foot slipping on a stray popcorn kernel. With a soft yelp, she fell backward, landing on a mess of scattered flyers. The sound echoed louder than she wanted, ringing like an alarm in the silent auditorium. Her eyelids fluttered, and she could hardly contain the rush of adrenaline as she scrambled back to her feet. "Get it together, Lily," she mumbled to herself, wiping the sweat off her brow. "You're the popcorn girl, not some scared kid hiding in a corner." But the shadows of her past whispered tales of her inadequacy. Those childhood stories of being dismissed and overlooked surged forth like phantoms, taunting her now. "You'll never escape this place," they sneered, lurking behind her like old friends turned foes. With resolve hardening inside her, Lily turned back toward the projection room. This was her moment. As she crept nearer, she noticed the door was ajar, an invitation to step inside. She could glimpse the faint glow of the projector flickering against the wall, a silent dance between light and dark. Holding her breath, she reached for the handle, fingers trembling as she pushed it open. The air was thick with dust and the smell of old film. As she stepped inside, the first thing she noticed was a series of photographs plastered haphazardly on the wall. They were faces she recognized, townsfolk from Willow Creek, some smiling, some scowling, and others plastered with expressions of disbelief. What were they doing here? A chill crept down her spine. Flipping through the photos, she noticed a particular image, half peeled from its age-worn adhesive. It was the mayor, McAllister, with an unsettling grin on his face. "What the?" she murmured. Just then, the projector hiccuped violently as a flickering image burst to life on the screen, and she gasped. It showed the exact moment of her envelope's arrival, the shimmer, the thrill, the fear. Had this been recorded? How could anyone have known? With her heart racing, Lily scrutinized the screen, realizing the shocking implications of this discovery. Someone had been watching her for longer than she imagined. Panic gripped her as she scanned the tiny room, searching for the source of the recording. But a sudden rustle behind her brought her face to face with nothing. She swallowed hard. The feeling of being watched surged again, tightening her throat. A message flickered on the projector like a warning: "You are now part of the game." Lily staggered back, her mind reeling. What game? And why her? As she stumbled from the room, determined to confront her fate, the lights in the cinema began to flicker, leaving her in twilight, unseen eyes closing in, mystery deepening, and uncertainty crackling in the air. With every step, she questioned what lays ahead. Because the darkness hid secrets of its own, and whatever was coming would change her life forever. Would she uncover the truth behind the shadowy whispers, or would she become just another forgotten story in the town of Willow Creek? Lily stumbled back into the dim hallway, her thoughts swirling like the shadows surrounding her. The weight of uncertainty pressed on her chest, making it difficult to breathe. Clutching her phone, she flicked it on, illuminating her path with a weak blue light. The screen showed it was after midnight, the hour when most nightmares seemed plausible. "Calm down, Lily," she whispered to herself. "This is just a prank or some weird joke. It can't be real, right?" But as she moved, the flickering bulbs above her hummed ominously, almost as if completing her thoughts with a mocking resonance. The cinema, once a sanctuary of happy memories, now felt like a labyrinth of horrors. Every creak of the floorboard sent shivers crawling down her spine. Just as she reached the main hallway, an image flared in her mind: the mayor's face, that unsettling grin. What if the strange photography was more than just a coincidence? Desperation surged through her, and without thinking, she rushed toward the exit. The door, however, slammed shut in front of her, leaving her trapped. Panic clawed at her throat like a feral cat. "No, no, no!" she gasped, tugging at the handle. It didn't budge. "Let me out!" she shouted, slamming her shoulder against the door. The darkness mocked her, absorbing her cries. She backpedaled as she heard a low, echoing chuckle swell from the shadows surrounding her. "Isn't it time you found out the truth?" The voice rasped, echoing with familiarity that sent her heart racing. It was a voice she recognized. "Who's there?" she stammered, searching the enveloping darkness for a face. But nothing emerged. Instead, a spotlight flared to life, illuminating the far end of the hallway. Her heart thumped wildly as the figure of the mayor stepped into view, a haunting silhouette against the blinding light. "Mayor McAllister?" Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. "I see you found our little secret," he said, that grin spreading wider, almost unnatural. You've become quite the focus of our project. The town needs a star, after all. What project? I don't understand. Lily felt fury and confusion swirl inside her. Why was this happening? He advanced slowly, his shadow stretching ominously toward her. This isn't just about you, my dear, he replied, his voice a blend of charm and menace. You're part of something bigger. Your story could make waves, bring excitement to a town that's been too quiet for too long. Excitement? She echoed, incredulous. You're talking about people's lives like they're a game, like it's entertainment to terrify me. Oh, they're not just lives. They're characters. Your reactions, your fears, those are the real stories we need. His voice dropped to a whisper, dripping with malice. And you, dear Lily, must play your role to perfection. At that moment, the flickering lights gave way entirely, plunging the hallway back into darkness. She felt as if she were being swallowed whole. The growing sense of dread erupted into a full-blown panic, and she bolted toward the door, throwing her weight against it one more time. To her surprise, it swung open easily, as if it had been waiting for her all along. The cool, fresh night air rushed in, filling her lungs with clarity. But even as she charged outside, she could feel the mayor's eyes burning into her back. Remember, Lily, the echoing voice called out behind her, laced with amusement. You can't escape the stage once you've stepped onto it. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, she sprinted into the night, doubt gnawing at her insides. Where could she go? Who could she trust? The streets of Willow Creek stretched ahead, dimly lit and eerily quiet, every corner seeming to hide a secret. What had she gotten herself into? But as she ran, a part of her couldn't shake the thought, would uncovering the truth make her a victim or a warrior in this twisted game? Before she could fully process her next move, a canister rolled into her path, clinking ominously. She knelt to inspect it. An envelope lay within, sealed and marked with a familiar stamp. Her heart dropped as she recognized it. With trembling hands, she opened the envelope and pulled out a single photograph. It was of her, taken just minutes ago at the cinema, her frightened expression etched on the page. And hastily scrawled beneath it were the words, "The game is set. Find the others." Panic intertwined with determination. There was no turning back, but who were the others? And what had she awakened in Willow Creek? Lily's heart raced, the photograph trembling in her grip as she stared in disbelief. Each beat against her ribcage echoed the message etched beneath her image. The game was real. She wasn't just a pawn but part of a twisted tapestry woven into the very fabric of Willow Creek. Find the others, she whispered, trying to make sense of it. Who were these others? As that thought settled, the urgency of her situation struck her like a cold wave. She had no time to waste. Glancing left and right down the empty street, her instincts kicked in. She turned on her phone's flashlight, the narrow beam cutting through the surrounding darkness. The familiar sights of Willow Creek, once comforting, now felt foreign and threatening. Where do I start? She muttered, her voice breaking the night's eerie stillness. She could head to the diner. Mary always worked the night shift and could help her figure things out. But the thought of encountering Mayor McAllister again gnawed at her, like a twisted sitcom playing in her mind. What was he planning? Steeling herself, she set off, dodging shadows as she ran. The flickering streetlights created a strobe-like effect, disorienting her and amplifying her fears. Each time she heard a rustle or sensed movement, her thoughts splintered. Was someone watching her? A chill ran down her spine as she spotted a figure lurking near the diner. It stood just outside the dim light, almost blending into the night, and for a split second, fear paralyzed her. Heart pounding, she raised the flashlight to get a better look. Lily. A familiar voice broke through her panic. It was Jake, her high school friend, his features illuminated by her light. Relief flooded her, momentarily drowning out her fears. Jake. Thank God it's you. She rushed forward, grabbing his arm. "What happened?" he asked, concern etching his face. When she showed him the photograph, his eyes widened. "This isn't good. We need to figure out what is going on." Before he could finish, the sound of shuffling feet echoed behind them. Both of them turned in unison, the moment hanging in the thick air. Fear wrapped around Lily, tightening like a noose. "Who's there?" Jake called, his voice steady but unsure. The darkness seemed to stretch, then contort into grotesque shapes. An unsettling laugh sliced through the night, chilling her to the core. The figure from before emerged, cloaked and hooded, its movements deliberate as it stepped into the edge of the light. "Are you looking for the others?" It rasped, voice dripping with amusement, as it pointed a gloved hand toward them. "Who? What do you want?" Lily stammered, unable to shake off the wave of dread crashing over her. "Oh, dear children," it crooned, the tone mocking. "The game is already in play. You're far too late to do anything but watch or participate." A sudden crash emerged from the alleyway behind them. Lily's heart hopped. "No! We can't let it end like this. Run!" Jake shouted, grabbing her hand as the figure shrieked, the sound blending with the chaos unfolding behind them. They tore down the street, not daring to glance back. As they ran, the world around them became a blur. The sirens began their screams or triumphs, she couldn't tell, and a new urgency fueled every step. Lily could hardly digest the gravity of their situation. The people of Willow Creek were no longer mere citizens, they were players in this monstrous game. "Where do we go?" Jake gasped, pulling her toward a narrow alley off the main street, shadows pooling like liquid around them. "We need to find the others, whoever they are," she breathed, unwilling to relent. "We have to stop this before it gets worse." The alley was tight and suffocating, walls looming like dark giants. Just as they caught their breath, the ground shook beneath them, a deep rumble reverberated through the earth, and with it, a message looped back into her mind: find the others. But the question gnawed at her. How many others, and would they be allies or enemies? A chilling voice echoed in her ear. "You think you're ready for the truth? The real game is just beginning." In that instant, Lily knew the end of this twisted game wouldn't just threaten her, it was coming for the heart of the town. What other secrets lay in wait, lurking in the shadows of Willow Creek? And who would come to play in this dangerous theater? The moment loomed, and Lily felt the allure of the unknown tugging at her, pulling her deeper into the game she never chose. Lily pressed against the cold brick wall, breath escaping in quick, shallow bursts. The alley felt like a tomb, encasing her in shadows, and her mind spiraled with dread. Each echo in the distance felt like a heartbeat, pounding an ominous rhythm that propelled her forward. "Lily, what do we do now?" Jake's voice cut through the silence, heavy with uncertainty. His grip on her hand was firm, but she could feel his tension. I don't know." She gasped. "We find the others. They have to know something. We can't do this alone." The alley narrowed further, a twisted corridor leading them deeper into darkness. The shaking ground had stopped, but the unsettling sensation of being hunted lingered in the air. She glanced back, half expecting to see the cloaked figure looming closer. Fighting the urge to run, she focused on their next move. "Think, Lily," she muttered under her breath. "Who else could be involved in this, whatever it is?" "Mary at the diner." Jake exclaimed suddenly, his eyes lighting with determination. "She's always around. She might have seen something." "Right." Panic washed away in the wake of purpose. They needed to stay ahead of whatever game was being played. But as they reached the mouth of the alley, a sudden flurry of shadows darted past. Lily gasped, tugging Jake back into the recesses of their hiding spot. "What was that?" he whispered, voice barely above a breath. She edged toward the entrance, peering out into the street. A group of twisted silhouettes flickered under the streetlights, moving in synchronized steps, unearthly and menacing. They formed a ring, as if performing some macabre dance around an unseen object. "I can't see what they're doing," Lily squinted, desperate for clarity, heart pounding like drums in a funeral march. Should we go?" Jake asked, trepidation creeping into his tone. Lily's instincts screamed at her to retreat, to pull away from the danger. But this was their town, they couldn't back down now. The photograph in her pocket felt like a flame, setting her resolve alight. "We have to," she began, but the sound of a crack echoed like a gunshot in the night air. Her heart stopped as one of the figures turned sharply, eyes glinting in the dark. They seemed to sense her presence, the air thickening with malevolence. "Lily!" Jake's urgency jolted her back to reality. Let us make a run for it," she urged, voice taut with fear, glancing back to catch one last look of the gathering. Each figure moved with the heart's rhythm, eerie and hypnotizing. They sprinted into the open street, the world exploding into chaos. A cacophony of wailing sirens blasted in the distance. Where were they coming from? Fear coursed through her as the familiar contours of Willow Creek morphed into a nightmare. "Over there!" Jake shouted, pointing towards the diner's neon sign flickering like a beacon of hope. They dashed through the intersections, narrowly avoiding oncoming cars, feeling the vibration of chaos spiral around them. Just as they reached the door, an ear-splitting shriek erupted behind them. The cloaked figure had broken free from the shadows, lunging forward with unnatural speed. "Inside!" Lily yelled, and they burst through the diner's entrance, slamming the door shut behind them. The public place was drenched in a warm light, filled with the aroma of fries and coffee. Frantic customers turned, eyes wide with shock, as if dragons had just invaded their sanctuary. "Mary!" Lily gasped, spotting her friend behind the counter, wide-eyed and trembling. There was something new in her expression, a flicker of recognition, fear entwined in her gaze. "Lily?" Mary whispered, horror unfolding as she looked between the two. "You shouldn't be here." "Why?" Jake pressed, overwhelmed. "What's happening? What do you know?" Mary hesitated, glancing toward the doorway. "You're all in terrible danger. The game, it involves all of us." "What do you mean, all of us?" Lily pushed, raw anticipation constricting her throat. "Who are the others? How do we stop this?" But before Mary could respond, a heavy thud shook the door, a foreboding prelude. And then, the lights flickered. A collective gasp filled the diner. "Get away from the windows!" Mary shouted, pulling them behind the counter. Lily's heart raced with trepidation. The game was closing in, the stakes were higher than she could have ever imagined. What if the others were already trapped, just like them? The door crashed open, and in that moment, fear hung thick like smoke. They were no longer just players, they were the hunted. What could possibly emerge from the shadows next, and who would be left standing at the end of this twisted game? The door swung open with a force that sent a chill racing down Lily's spine. The figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, a dark specter blotting out the flickering neon light. It was a grotesque sight, the cloak billowing around it like storm clouds ready to unleash a deluge. Lily's breath hitched in her throat as the figure stepped inside, the atmosphere shifting into something unbearably tense. Time seemed to freeze. The eyes, those glinting orbs, scanned the diner with predatory intent, taking in the chaos that had erupted in its wake. "Stay down," Mary hissed, pushing Jake and Lily further behind the counter. The acrid smell of frying oil mixed with the metallic tang of fear lingered in the air. Lily's heart raced. She couldn't just cower in fear, they had to act. "What do we do?" she whispered, struggling to keep her voice steady. Mary's face was pale, fear etched into every line. "We stay hidden. It won't get us if it doesn't know we're here." But as she spoke, a soft, low murmur began to fill the room. The other customers, blissfully unaware moments ago, rose in unison from their booths, a trance having settled over them. They swayed slightly, their heads tilted as if listening to a ghostly harmony only they could hear. "Oh my God," Jake breathed, watching in horror as the diners moved silently toward the figure. Lily's eyes widened. "They're under its control." Not all was chaos in the familiar diner. It was as if a curtain was pulled, normalcy had been ripped away to reveal a monstrous theater. "Who's it controlling? Do you think it's everyone?" She shot back, panic clawing at her insides. "It must be," Mary began, and just then, the figure raised an arm, directing the entranced diners toward the counter. "We need to escape. Now." But escape wasn't so simple. The door had been wedged shut by the overpowering force of the crowd, the figure's presence eclipsing any hope they might have had to break free from this nightmare. Suddenly, a piercing shriek erupted from a table in the corner. An elderly man, eyes wild and filled with terror, broke free from the throng. "Help!" he cried, his voice trembling. It's taking us. It wants something." Before they could respond, the figure shifted with an unnatural grace, gliding closer to the old man. Its movements were sleek, as if it were gliding ghost-like through the diner, emanating an aura of dread. The old man fumbled back, fear eating away at his sanity. "Get away from him!" Jake shouted, and in that moment, something inside Lily snapped. She grabbed a nearby ketchup bottle, hurling it toward the figure. It splattered against the wall, an absurd act in the face of real horror. But she wasn't out of options, her heart pulsed with reckless courage. "We have to try something. Distract it." A flicker of uncertainty crossed Mary's face, and for a heartbeat, there was a glint of hope. "The kitchen." She gestured, "Their back door." Lily nodded, and they nodded toward the dazed customers. Siri was at the helm of this madness, unable to help themselves, yet she could not just leave them behind. They would fight together or not at all. With every ounce of adrenaline propelling her forward, Lily dashed toward the figure, Jake sticking to her side, and Mary close behind. The figure swiveled toward them, its haunting gaze locking onto Lily. "Go!" she screamed. They burst toward the kitchen, pushing through the service entrance. The clatter of metal pots echoed behind them as the figure pursued. The kitchen door swung closed, slamming shut just as the figure reached it. There was a moment of silence, and then a thunderous crash reverberated through the wall, rattling the pots above them. "Now what?" Jake gasped, chest heaving. "We can't hide here forever," Mary replied, panic mixing with determination. "We need to figure out how to break whatever hold it has over them, and fast. If we don't, it'll be too late." Just then, another frantic pounding echoed from the door, and through the chaos came an eerie voice that sent chills cascading through Lily's veins, whispering secrets of despair and darkness. "You can't escape, join them, it's only the beginning." What had they awakened? What horrors lay ahead both inside the diner and beyond its walls? Lily's heart thundered in her chest, the eerie voice echoing in her mind like an ominous bell tolling for the damned. Panic surged hot and electric through her veins. They couldn't let that thing catch them. No. They had to think fast. Lily scanned the kitchen, her eyes darting from the flurry of pots and pans to the dull glow of a fire extinguisher mounted on the wall. An idea sparked, flaring to life amidst the fear. What if we use the fire extinguisher?" She blurted out. Jake, catching on to her frantic energy, nodded. "Yeah. It's not a weapon, but it could create a distraction." Mary's face hardened with renewed resolve. "It could break its focus. Let us do it." They moved quickly, both urgency and dread swirling around them like a tempest. Lily grabbed the fire extinguisher, her fingers trembling as she pulled it free from the wall. It felt heavy, a reassuring weight in her hands even as she felt the fear creeping back in. They huddled together, their breaths mingling as they peered toward the door. The pounding had stopped, the silence was a void that threatened to engulf them. "On my count," Mary said, her voice firm, anchoring them. 1, 2, 3. Lily pulled the trigger, releasing a violent spray of white foam that burst through the door just as it swung open. The figure lurched with an unearthly roar, the white cloud engulfing it in a haze. The music changed. The other diners, still caught in their trance, seemed to stumble, disoriented by the sudden onslaught of foam. Their entranced expressions flickered, wavering between shock and confusion. "Now!" Jake shouted, rushing forward with Mary. They pushed their way through the fog and the bewildered customers, desperately hoping to shake them from their stupor, but as they raced deeper into the chaos, another figure emerged from the swirling white, one of the entranced diners. A woman, her face twisted in a blend of horror and anger, reached out, her fingers clawing toward them. "Help me!" She screamed, but then, just as suddenly, she fell back into the thrall. The wildness returned to her eyes, replaced with a glassy stare. "Don't touch her. Just keep moving," Lily warned, but the weight of indecision settled heavily on her. She wanted to save them all, but the horror of their plight churned in her gut. "Lily! We need to focus." Jake pulled her back, forcing her to look at him. "We need to find a way out. Now!" As they both swung around to locate an exit, the pounding on the kitchen door resumed. Each thud felt like thunder rolling through the diner. Something was getting in. The figure, now obscured by the last remnants of foam, began to emerge, unshaken and even more menacing. "Run!" Mary urged, her voice breaking the momentary paralysis that had gripped Lily. They bolted for the swinging doors, barreling into the dull light beyond the kitchen, but as they burst into the diner, everything had changed. The entranced customers were now locked in a frenzied dance, their bodies jerking as if manipulated by unseen strings. Forks and knives clattered to the floor, shattering the heavy air, each sound like a death knell. The figure reared back, its cloak alive with shadows, silhouette looming larger than life. "Join them!" It hissed, its voice slicing through the air like a razor. "What are we going to do?" Lily felt panic tightening its grip on her throat. Suddenly, the power flickered, plunging the diner into darkness. It was a moment of blissful silence before the overhead lights crashed back on, illuminating the chaos once more. The figure loomed closer, and now Lily saw something glinting in its hand, a small, sharp object. Energy shifted. They had limited time. "Over there." Jake pointed to the window, now their last hope for escape, but as they made for it, another booming crash erupted, shaking the very foundations around them. Something or someone emerged from the shadows, adding more chaos to the horror that was rapidly unfurling. What awaited them outside? Would they find freedom or face an even greater nightmare? The weight of the choice hung heavily in the air as they sprinted toward the glimmer of possibility. They dashed toward the window, hearts pounding, feet pounding, the air thick with fear. As they neared the glass, Lily felt a rush of adrenaline mingle with desperation. Behind them, the figure's low growl echoed in the chaos, urging them on faster. "Keep going," Jake urged, his voice barely a shout amidst the clatter of chaos. The frantic dance of disturbed diners whirled around them, eyes vacant yet wild, silence punctuated with the sound of their rattling forks and the thumping from the kitchen. They had to leap, they had to survive. They reached the window, foamy remnants still clinging to the edges, but it wouldn't budge. "It's stuck," Mary cried, tugging at the frame as if willing it to open. But it was sealed tight, and their time was slipping away. "Break it!" Lily shouted. "We have to get out." She glanced back to see the figure closing in, impossibly calm despite the chaos. Shadows twisted and swirled around it, like dark tendrils reaching toward them. Jake balled his fist and struck the glass. Once, then twice. The impact sent jolts through his arm, but the glass remained unyielding. It wouldn't shatter. He yelled, panic creeping into his voice. "Here. Use this." Mary forced the fire extinguisher into his hands. With a nod, Jake aimed at the window and squeezed the handle. The force of the foam mixed with urgency blew outward, coating the frame as he pounded against it with the butt of the extinguisher. The glass vibrated, then cracked. With one last, desperate blow, the window shattered, sending shards flying into the air. It felt like liberation. "Go!" Jake shouted, but as they climbed through, the figure lunged with a ferocity that made Lily's blood run cold. Mary was through first, and she grabbed Lily's arm, yanking her just in time to avoid the dark force that swiped at them with terrifying speed. They landed hard on the pavement outside, rolling to a halt amid the crisp night air. The diner loomed menacingly behind them, flickering lights above casting eerie shadows as if the whole building was alive. Breathless, Lily pushed herself up, her heart hammering, desperately scanning the area for danger. "Where's Jake?" Mary gasped, panic ricocheting in her eyes. "I thought he was right behind us." Lily's voice trembled. They looked back at the window, but there was no sign of him. The figure had vanished, but the ache of uncertainty was suffocating. "He needs to hurry." Out of the corner of her eye, Lily spotted movement. The figure's outline re-emerged, slinking from the diner's depths. It hadn't given up. The darkness seemed to pulse around it, a living shadow as it loomed larger, more palpable under the streetlights. Without a second thought, Lily grabbed Mary's hand and bolted down the sidewalk. They ran with everything they had, the cold pavement stinging their feet, the world around them losing clarity as focus narrowed to escape. "Lily!" Mary's voice broke the frantic din of their flight. "We can't leave him. What else can we do?" Panic surged through Lily, her chest tightening, as if constricted by an unseen grip. She had to think. They had to think. "If we go back, we're all dead." But she knew Mary's heart was set. "Maybe there's another way," Mary pressed, her voice suddenly calmer, like a light cutting through the fog. "We can distract it, and then." "Distract it how?" The words fell from Lily like stones into a dark well. Mary caught her breath, eyes shining with determination. "That fire extinguisher, it worked inside. We have to create a diversion." The thought hung in the air, a flicker of hope kneading together desperation and fury. "And how do we do that?" Lily pressed. Mary's gaze caught the small convenience store across the street. "We get back inside that diner, two of us at least, and we create a smoke cloud big enough to hold it back." Heart thumping like a drum, Lily opened her mouth, but no words came, just the sound of their racing hearts and the figure's wound-up growls creeping ever closer. "Let us do it," Mary urged. They dashed toward the store, only one thought dominating their minds: how to lure the darkness away from Jake. And find a way to save him. They had to make the choice to face the monster, to confront what lurking threats they feared most. But was the danger worth it? Would they emerge alive, or would they become another ghost haunting the diner's shadows? A choice lay ahead, perilous and potent. As they crept toward the store, a sudden scream echoed through the night, slicing like glass. "Jake!" The whisper of dread stirred in the air, mingling with the smoke. They froze, hearts in their throats, as the scream bounced off the alley walls. "Did you hear that?" Mary gasped, her eyes wide with terror. Lily nodded, feeling the weight of dread settle over her like a heavy blanket. The sound of fear had been raw and desperate. That was Jake. Her stomach twisted, a mix of worry and guilt clawing at her insides. They had to find him, but how could they risk going back inside? "Listen," Mary whispered, pulling Lily closer. "We can't just run away. We need a plan. If it's dangerous in there, we have to outsmart it. What do you have in mind?" Lily's voice was barely more than a whisper, the dark weight of their situation pressing heavily on her. Mary pointed toward the convenience store. "If we can grab something to block the door, it'll keep the thing from getting out or from getting Jake. We can hurry back to the diner, create smoke, and then get him out while it's distracted." Lily bit her lip, torn. "And what if we can't get back out? What if we end up trapped like he is?" Mary's expression hardened, determination burning in her eyes. "We can't leave him. Not like this. The growl of the shadowy figure sounded like thunder rumbling as it prowled the diner's edge. They needed to act fast before it caught their scent. "Let us go," Lily said, forcing her feet to move. They made their way across the street, heartbeats drumming in time with each step. The flickering lights of the diner illuminated their path, casting long shadows that danced like spirits watching their every move. Inside the convenience store, the fluorescent lights hummed overhead, feeling like a sanctuary even as dread settled deeper into their bones. Mary dashed down the aisles, scanning for anything that could help. "Found it," she called, holding up a pack of bottle rockets. "Are you serious?" Lily blinked. "That can't help against whatever that is." Mary shook her head, grabbing plastic tubes. "We'll need these to create a distraction. But we'll need more. Something to make noise and chaos. Look for snacks or other fireworks." Lily swallowed hard and rushed down the aisle, grabbing bags of chips and candy. Each crinkle felt like a scream, shattering the suffocating silence. With both arms laden, she rejoined Mary as they hurried to the checkout. "Okay, we can't waste time. Just grab the soda, the noise will help." "Then we go back," Mary urged. As they made their way back out, a sudden crash echoed from the diner. The dark figure burst through the entrance, its form more pronounced now, a chaos of shadows twisting violently around it. "Run!" Lily shouted. They sprinted outside, adrenaline propelling them forward as fear taunted them from behind. "Where's Jake?" Mary screamed, scanning the diner. "He's in there. We're too late." "No. We can't give up." Mary's voice was fierce, filled with a desperate determination that anchored Lily's panic. "We'll create the smoke and noise. It'll give him a chance." Just as they schemed, a flash of movement caught Lily's eye. Jake stumbled into the open door, his face pale, eyes wild with terror. "What are you doing? Get back!" Mary moved instinctively, pulling Lily with her as foggy smoke bloomed from the fire extinguisher engulfing the diner's doorway. "Now!" Mary yelled, shoving the pack of rockets into Jake's arms. "Light them up and cause a distraction. We need the cover." "What the hell is happening?" Jake stumbled, shock mingling with confusion. A snarl erupted from the darkness, more menacing than ever, as the shadow lunged toward them through the smoke. "Do it!" Lily shouted, her voice strained with urgency. Jake lifted a lighter, shaking, his eyes darting between them. Could they really take on this living nightmare? The air buzzed with tension as time hung suspended. The figure lurched forward, and they all instinctively braced for impact, but it screeched to a halt, halting amid a whirl of smoke. "Run!" Jake bellowed, tossing the rockets into the air, illuminating everything like fireworks of chaos. The darkness recoiled, releasing a growl that echoed through the night. "Now! Go!" Mary shouted, and they started to move, heart pounding through their flesh as they darted toward salvation. As they ran, smoke billowed and swallowed the night. But a shrill scream split the air, a new sound, cutting through everything, making their hearts freeze in horror. "Is that?" Lily began, her voice faltering. The scream echoed through the alleyway, pulsing with a sickening tension. They just wanted to escape, but chaos had now unleashed a deeper terror. What had they done? "Jake, we can't stop!" Mary yelled. "We need to go. We're too exposed." But what if they ran straight into danger? With uncertainty brewing in their chests, they faced the uncertainty ahead, knowing one thing was true: they had opened a door to horrors unknown. What should they do next? Would they flee or confront the nightmare directly? The choice weighed heavily on them as they plunged deeper into the night, where shadows swirled. "Will we survive this?" Lily whispered, the terror amplifying with each step. The sun broke over Willow Creek, illuminating a world that had seen too much darkness in such a short time. The echoes of the night's chaos still lingered, but today felt different. Today, hope, rather than fear, permeated the air. Lily, Jake, and Mary stood outside the diner, their faces smeared with remnants of last night's battle. Every breath felt deeper and lighter, as if the horrors they had faced had finally lifted. The shadowy figure that had once loomed threateningly in their lives seemed to have retreated back into the darkness, leaving behind only a faint whisper of terror. "We did it," Lily breathed, her voice thick with disbelief. "We actually did it." "Yeah, but we need to make sure everyone is okay," Mary replied, glancing back at the diner. The enchanted customers were beginning to stumble out, wide-eyed and disoriented. It was as if they were waking from an unsettling dream, and now, together, they needed to face the consequences of that nightmare. "I'll get help," Jake said firmly, determination shining in his eyes. "There are still reporters and officers around. They need to know what happened." Lily grabbed his arm, panic rising once more. "Wait, what if it comes back? What if this wasn't the end of it?" "But it has to be," Jake insisted, backstepping towards his car. "We can't let fear trap us. We have to show the town that we're stronger than whatever that thing was." Taking a deep breath, Lily nodded, feeling the urgency spark in her chest again. They were fighters now, not victims. "Let us work together," Mary chimed in, determination etched into her features. "We'll have a plan. We'll get everyone together, warn them, and end this for good." The trio exchanged resolute looks, forming the bond that would carry them through. They were more than friends, they were allies, warriors forged in the fires of a battle against darkness. As the town gathered later at the community center, emotions rippled wildly through the crowd: fear, confusion, anger, and, ultimately, strength. Lily stood before them, heart racing, her whole body electrified with purpose. "I know a lot of you are scared," she began, trying to steady her voice. "What we faced was real. But you have to understand, we choose how to respond to that fear. We choose to stand together." The crowd murmured, nodding in cautious agreement. The mayor's once potent figure now felt diminished, overshadowed by the power of community. "That shadow, it preyed on us, but together, we fought it back. We can talk and partner with each other to build our strength," she urged, scanning the faces around her. One by one, hands began to raise, voices starting to speak up. Fragments of hope began to knit something beautiful in the air. Living their lives as players rather than pawns in someone else's game seemed possible after all. Lily caught a glimpse of Jake just behind her, beaming with pride. Mary stood strong at her side, propelling her forward. This was not just about them anymore. This was about resurrection. They were rewriting the story of Willow Creek together. Days turned into weeks, and Willow Creek slowly shed the shroud of fear. The community became a web of connections, firm and unyielding. Town meetings flourished, and residents began to share their stories without the weight of shadows holding them back. Lily found a new position, organizing community events with unwavering optimism. Each gathering, each film on the projector, the memories of fear transformed into moments of laughter and togetherness. The cinema was painted anew, reflecting their resolve to bask in the light rather than cower in the shadows, and in the hushed moments, as they took time to reflect on the past, flashes of what had once been danced across the screen. But it was also a celebration of survival, of unity, and of hope. "Cheers to us," Lily said one evening, raising her soda in a toast with Jake and Mary. "We made it through." "Here's to building a future," Jake added, clinking his glass with enthusiasm, eyes shining with the promise of new beginnings. "Let us make sure everyone knows that nothing can hold us back." Mary chimed in with a spirited cheer. The laughter echoed in the air, weaving into the tapestry of Willow Creek a story of rebirth, resilience, and triumph over adversity. As the sun dipped behind the hills, casting soft colors across the sky, Lily felt a surge of exhilaration spread through her heart. They had turned tragedy into triumph, shadows into light. The world, infinitely bigger than fears, spread out before her. Lily's destiny had unfolded right in her hands, and this brand new story was just beginning to write itself. And hey, if you want to be part of more incredible journeys like the one you just experienced, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for the channel so you don't miss future exclusive stories. Smash that like button, let us feed that algorithm together. And flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. Finally, I challenge you to share this video with at least 5 friends who also need to experience this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Your involvement matters, and it makes all the difference.